Hello students, I've come back with active and passive voice here now. Interesting part here is many students get a lot of confusion when they think of transforming a sentence from active to passive and vice versa. Where is the problem? Well, the books normally, or the grammar books normally say that if the subject is the doer of the action, then the verb is said to be in active voice. If the subject is at the receiving end, the verb is said to be in passive voice. Fine, that is part of the understanding. My concentration here is on the structure of the sentence because a sentence has two things. One, meaning, two, structure. I'm trying to concentrate on the structure so that it eases the problem of misunderstanding, if any, confusion, if any, when it goes with active and passive voice transformation of sentences. Okay, so moving forward, there are a couple of things that I need to mention here when we are changing a sentence from active to passive or passive to active. Point number one, the sentence, there are four kinds of sentences. The kind of sentence will not change when you transform the sentence from active to passive or passive to active. Second point is the tense also will not change. Neither the sentence nor tense will change, but there will be structural changes to the verb. Let's see how it goes about. Okay, so for your ready reference from the previous video, I have put the tense table here once again. Just take a few seconds. If you want, you can pause and then look at it, what exactly that table is. Each tense form is given here, all the 12 tense forms. Okay, and as I move forward, right, let me give you some discount here. Now, what does this discount mean precisely? Well, out of 12 tense forms, 1/3 of them will not have passive voice. Sir, what does that mean? Very simple, right? If I'm looking at these 12 tense forms, okay, uh, all perfect continuous tense forms will not have passive voice because we don't use such structures in English. Second thing is the future continuous tense will not have passive voice. So out of 12, only 8 of them will have passive voice. Okay, this is another important point that you need to keep in mind. So when we give questions to transform, only these 8 forms will be there to change into passive voice or from passive to active as well. Is that clear? If this is clear, okay, the next slide that I'm going to present to you will have only these 8 forms and then the transformation into passive because all sentences which are given here are in active voice already. So we'll see how the transformation takes place as far as the passive voice is concerned. Okay, so let's move on. Here it is. Only 8 tense forms have passive voice, while active voice is there for all 12 tense forms. Okay, so here is your table, right, which very clearly shows what the sentence in active voice is and what the sentence in passive voice is. Okay, since it's covering, I'm going to shut my video for a few seconds. Okay, whenever I come to that particular point. So you can see if I take simple present tense, he writes a poem. Passive voice of it is adding is. Point number one. What are the changes in the verb? Point number one is adding a be form is. Why? Because is present tense form. Am, is, are the present tense forms. So was, were, past tense forms, which we'll use in past tense. Okay, and the main verb always has verb en, you can see here. Why? What is the formula for passive voice that we have taken? Be form plus verb en form. Then there is a student who might quickly question me, sir, there is already a be form as far as present continuous is concerned. Irrespective of it, we're going to add another be form here. We are going to add another be form here. Of course, in active voice, the sentence begins with he, that is the subject, a poem is the object. When you transform it into passive voice, it needs to begin with the object. So a poem is written by him in simple present tense. A poem is being written by him is present continuous tense. Similarly, if you look at present perfect tense, has written, there's no be form. But then when you come to passive voice, there's been, which is added. Okay, I'll give you a couple of more clues to remember them very easily as we move forward. So wrote is used here, simple past tense, hence is changed to was. Writes is present tense, so is used. Wrote is past tense, so in simple past tense was is used. Similarly, in present continuous is writing, hence when you go to past continuous was writing, so you find the same was. I haven't changed the tense, nor have I changed, right, these statements into questions or exclamatory sentences or anything. They remain the same. So the tense and sentence both remain the same here. As you move on, right, we said perfect tense, that is past perfect tense. Okay, so when you go with that, right, you have seen been is used here. Okay, then in future we use will, and hence, right, we are going with be form directly used here. Okay, as you go into future perfect tense, you can see that will have written is a future perfect tense, and hence been is used here. So a couple of things, as I said, what is common here is look at all continuous tense forms. This one, these two, right? You have used what is called, or we have used being, which is the be form. And all perfect tense forms, right, if you see here, right, present perfect, right, past perfect or future perfect, in passive voice we have used been, as you can see here. Okay, and in all the verbs here, as you can see, in passive voice, main verb write is changed to written. That is the I hope you're guessing what exactly it is, right? The verb en form, in simple terms, right? Past participle. Okay, so when you look at it, it's very easy to remember with these two clues, right? How a sentence is changed from active voice to passive voice. Verbs might change, the subject and object might change, but in passive voice, the verb structure should be a be form plus verb en form. If I'm able to add that be form into passive voice, when I transform from active to passive, then there is a chance that it can be passivized. The sentence can be passivized. That is what you find here. Okay, so keep this in mind, right? This table should be very clearly at your fingertips. Whenever you are in doubt whether you are able to transform them or not, right? You should be in a position to recall this. And last but not the least, one point. In certain examinations, there is a chance that they give the sentence and then say, right, begin with this or end with this or use this form of the word or whatever it is, right? What exactly is that? Suppose he writes a poem. That's a given sentence. Okay. And then they say, begin with a poem. What exactly am I doing? I'm passivizing it. Or end with by him. What exactly am I doing? Passivizing it. Same is the case with all the sentences. Okay, so just keep this little idea in mind. Active and passive voice can be very easy. Practice the questions from anywhere you want. You can actually see that these verb forms are the most important things for us. Subject and object might change, but the verb structure remains the same. If I can add that be form, change the main verb into verb en form, that becomes passive voice in simple terms. Hope this is clear. Thank you.